Did you play Journey, Mogan?
Yes.
Oh,
I love
And
it.
it's like 1.5 gigs to install
I
it.
cry about it all the time.
Journey?
Sometimes
I know.
think about it, I just start crying.
I've been meaning to play it for like,
Tears.
It's usually like late at night and I've had a few glasses of wine, but whatever.
I know. I've been meaning to play it because I've heard the soundtrack's so good, and I've just
listened
heard
to
over
that
and over and
soundtrack.
over and over and over how good it is. But I want to listen to the soundtrack, but I don't know if I want to listen to it.
You should
before I
save
play
it. Yeah, no, save it for the
I want to
game.
save it for the game, I think.
Because I have no connection with it. I'm like, oh, it's good. But
Wait, so
I
you haven't listened to the Journey soundtrack?
No,
save
on-
it.
on
Save it for
purpose,
the game.
on
Okay,
purpose.
do
yeah,
that.
save it. I haven't listened to
Good
it
idea,
either. But I
good
did
idea.
listen to Oni and the Blind Forest soundtrack in my car today. Probably half of it.
So good,
and that's really
right?
good. But
It's
I don't have
amazing.
I don't have an emotional connection.
I
to it.
don't either.
Twilight
yet.
Princess I listened to, dude. And I've done this before, but it's like I think it's called the Zelda theme orchestral.
Right.
That is amazing.
I mean, just the medley is so.
God.
My favorite one is the Gerudo Valley portion, where it's just like the music from the Gerudo Valley, and it just like.
See, I'm not gonna. If I heard it, I'd know it.
So, true story, I may or may not have gotten pulled over for speeding once.
Listening to
because
that
I was
today.
at that site and I was going really fast and didn't realize it, and then the cop got me, and I was like, "Officer, you don't understand!" Like crying in the car again, and they're just like, "Ma'am, we're gonna have to give you a ticket." It's like, okay,
You're not talking your way out of this one.
I know, I tried.
I don't have any
didn't
emotional
work.
connection to Ori and the Blind Forest either because I haven't played the game. And I didn't
Right.
realize it came out it came out in March. I
Yeah,
thought it was much more recent
No,
than that.
it's
No,
been
it was
out.
earlier in the
I didn't
year.
realize that.
Limbo?
Which
Have you guys
But
ever
it's
played
only-
Limbo?
That one is also on
Wait,
my
say it
list.
one more time.
Limbo. Oh, you haven't
It
played
looks
Limbo?
fun. I can get it for the Vita too.
Really good.
Is that
really
the one?
good.
Wait, is it really pixelated?
No.
No, that's Braid.
It's a 2D scroller.
I was
but
thinking
it's
of Braid. Never mind.
Yeah, Braid I want to
It's
play.
black and white and
It's beautiful.
Yeah,
Really good.
It's like really heavily relies on shadows.
Yeah, scary too.
Yeah, it's in a
Oh.
cave or something like that.
Oh boy.
You go through a cave.
Or you're going,
then
or
a
is it like,
factory,
is
it's
it
like,
limbo, like the purgatory sense?
It doesn't. I guess maybe. I don't know. Feels just more like you're in a forest and then in
Listen
a cave.
to us recording a bonus episode right now
I know.
before we even kick off with the main
I was
one.
gonna
You gotta
say,
use
we've
this.
made a
and then
lot
go
of
into
progress.
then go into the beginning. I can see it now. I'm saying this, and then boom, music.
Hey everybody, this is Jerrett Wilson and welcome to another episode of Team Chat Podcast. I am one of your hosts, joined to my right by Rachel Mogan
What's up?
and to my left, Zachary Parks.
That's what I usually say.
I know. I did
What's
it on
up?
purpose.
And I say it in that voice.
You gotta
I like
change it
to
up.
throw it off.
I know.
Gotta change it up.
I need to like make a list of greetings.
Salutations.
It's important. I get nervous. I'm like, oh, what am I going to say this time?
Oh, I know.
Why?
Most of the time when we end this thing, I'm always just like,
Yeah,
goodbye, folks.
I know. It's like you're at a party. It's awkward. Like, how do we get out of here? Yeah, we're working on that.
We're working on it. We'll get better. We're getting better with time.
I mean, I
Getting
think
better with time.
I think that,
We're like a fine wine. We're gonna
Yes.
get better with time.
like me personally, I'm already there. You guys, you
Mogan,
just have
we're
some- I'm
we're
just
doing
kidding.
catch up from
Just
catching
doing
up to
some
Mogan.
catch up there.
All right. I'll buy that.
It's
I
hard to
guess.
argue against that.
But in case you didn't know, if you wanted to ever send us a comment, question, or any other feedback from the show, you can do so by sending us an email to teamchatpodcast@gmail.com or giving us a follow on Twitter @teamchatpodcast. We also have a Patreon page set up where you can go and check us out there and subscribe, where you'll get some cool perks like the episodes early or even some memorabilia depending on what tier you unlock, and as well as some access to exclusive content and even some Google Hangouts. So hopefully we'll see you there. And thanks to those of you who have already supported us on our Patreon page. Again, that's Patreon, patreon.com/teamchatpodcast. So,
Mogan, 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
oh,
Okay,
okay, let's do it
beautiful.
again. Let's do it again. I
You
like
can't
it.
surprise
Ready?
me.
1, 2, 3.
Thank you.
Everyone. Now we have inspiring music. But anyway, moving on to the topic of the show today. It is now the end of 2015. We have spent the last year playing games, experiencing the gaming world for another one of the Earth's rotations around the sun.
It was an
And here-
awkward way to say a year.
I
No,
was
no, it's
quite
beautiful.
I was quite proud of that.
Disagree.
Thank you, Zach.
beautiful.
Thank you. I was
the-
quite proud of
Just
that
not
illustration.
sure I like the astronomical.
confuses me.
I was happy
I'm
with
not
it.
used to thinking
I was
that
happy with it.
big.
We're gonna shelve that. We're gonna put a pin in your
Gonna put a pin in.
put a pin in it, and we're gonna come back to it later. But for now, So we wanted to just give this one as more of an open conversation about what 2015 looked like for us in gaming. What did we do? What games do we beat? What things do we like? And to kick us off, it's going to be Zach.
Everyone's looking at me. 2015. Would you classify it as a good year in gaming? Let me just add, that's a question I'm asking you too.
Not for me. Not
for you?
especially for me personally. Like, there have definitely been way better years. So this one I was really not super wowed by the video game scene in general. Now, part of that could be that a whole bunch of games that I really want to play just very recently came out, and I haven't been able to get my hands on them quite yet. But as far as like earlier in the year, middle of the year, not a lot that really wowed me. But there's some good ones. There's some good ones in my list.
Okay.
I think it was. I would say it was a fairly average year. There were some big things that I was excited about. Like, I mean, I'll go into it more when it's my turn to talk about these things.
Yes,
but,
I just wanted to get a general
yeah,
kind of consensus of your immediate thoughts of the year overall.
I think it was good. There weren't any huge controversies with like broken games like there were last year in 2014.
Yeah, right. Yes.
So we kind of, I mean, there were a couple examples of that.
Like Master Chief Collection in
Master
particular.
Chief Collection from last year, right?
That's 2014.
Yeah. And like Assassin's Creed Unity, I knew had some
That had
big
some
problems.
issues,
The only ones that come off the top of my head this year as being severely broken were the Batman Arkham Knight on PC, and then the new Tony Hawk Pro Skater 5, I think, just came out. It was terrible and is still terrible.
Tony
they just
Hawk?
never
That's a
they never
shame.
fixed it.
I
Yeah.
was a big fan of Tony Hawk back in the day.
Yeah, it just kind of seems like
I
they
haven't
rushed this
talked
one
about
out.
that game. That was a big game in my life.
We'll have to revisit
figure out,
it
Yeah, how do I
I wasn't
bring
really
that
into the
conversation?
skateboarding games, but snowboarding. Do you guys remember
I did.
SSX Tricky?
I
Yes.
played.
I love
do.
that game.
Interesting. Did you ever play 1080 for N64?
That's the
No.
one I played.
Yeah.
That's the one I played.
Here we go.
I have
We're
it,
getting off
actually.
topic.
I have it,
Yes,
actually.
those are great games. Do you have
But-
1080?
I do.
Oh,
But
wow.
yeah,
Fire that up.
but no, I think it was a pretty good year.
For me personally, it was a really fantastic year, and that's because 2014 didn't offer me much for gaming. In fact, I don't remember the last time that so many games came out that for 2015. I can't remember the last time so many games came out that I wanted to get. You know, I don't consider myself a strictly like a mainstream gamer, but I have my preferences, and they just happen to kind of be the bigger games.
The AAA ones.
You know, in a sense, but then I also kind of go off path and play some great arcade games, and you know, I tend to mix it up, but I'm right now in my life, I'm only willing to shell out some money for games I know that I'm going to like a lot,
Right.
You know, and this year I had 3 games that came out in 1 year. I can't remember the last time that's happened. The 3 games I wanted to get, and in order they were Metal Gear Solid 5, Halo 5, and Fallout 4.
In your order of like excitement for the game.
In the order they came out.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
In the order
yeah,
of
that's true.
excitement for the game, no. Halo 5 I was definitely most excited for. And so, like all the rest of my years, it was, you know, permeated by Halo. Halo was like, it was very exciting for me for Halo 5 to come out. But what's more interesting, I think, is a game like Metal Gear Solid 5. I've never played the other Metal Gear Solids in the series, except for Metal Gear Solid 2, and very briefly. But I remember loving it. And playing a game like this, where it was one of those moments when you didn't have high expectations, my hopes weren't very high, and I got it because, I was like, it looks like a good game, nothing else, I need to kill some time before Halo comes out. I wasn't like,
A filler game.
it was, most people probably don't look at Metal Gear Solid as a
I was
filler
about to say,
game.
most people would never, unless they
That
actually
was their
wanted
game of the year.
just
I was like,
it's really insulting to all
I know.
Metal Gear fans.
But what a lovely position it was for me to be in, to be have such, not low expectations, but I just didn't know what I was getting into.
Yeah, just have no expectations.
No expectations. I was like, and I was like, in the first 20 minutes, I realized this game was going to be one of the best games I've ever played.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
why I'm so
You've been talking about it a lot.
I know. That's why I'm so excited to see you guys play it, because the cinematics are beautiful, the soundtrack is awesome, and just the immersive nature of it. I mean, when I'm talking about the first 20 minutes is this hospital level. I won't give much away, but you're basically in a hospital that's under attack. And never had I played a game, I never played Uncharted, which I hear is like this as well, but never have I played a game that felt so much like a movie. And I never really am appealed to that in general. So like I want games to kind of have their own feel. You know, if they're mimicking movies, that's fine. If they're mimicking cinema, I think that's pretty cool. But I also think the less cinematics, the better almost. Like, let me do that. Like that's why I'm so like Fallout and Skyrim. I like RPGs a lot. You know,
fewer cinematics would not be something I would normally peg Metal Gear Solid specifically with.
Well,
typically their cutscenes are ultra cinematic. Million.
And what's so wonderful is they do it very well. You know, I think I briefly read that Hideo Kojima even wanted to be a film director when he was younger.
He could do it.
Oh my god! And like these are all like these one-shot crazy tracking shots of like just action, and it's really. And what else is interesting about Metal Gear, which I never knew about before, was the blending of like the bizarre and the absolutely like just strangeness with the realism and the kind of hardcore stealth action with like I don't know if you call it a Japanese sensibility of just humor and environment, but they blend this thing that I've never played before, and it's so memorable. You know, it's kind of got that anime feel at points, and it has like crazy bosses, crazy characters. I mean, people that are listening are like, that's what Metal Gear's always been about, but I never really was on that board. So this was the first one I really played all the way through, you know?
Yeah, no, I had the exact same thought. I have not played Metal Gear Solid 5 yet, but hearing you talk about it and seeing gameplay footage of it and just reading reviews about it, it is very high on my list of 2016. But I have played the Ground Zeroes, which was it's a small
one
taste.
Level. Yeah, it's like a level.
A taste of Phantom Pain, and just from that, I was blown away again by the level of detail in the cinematics, by the level of detail in the environments and the music, the ending cutscene of that cinematic of that game mission in and of itself. As I was watching it, I said out loud to myself, I was like, I have to play every single game in this series.
Right, I know. It's. I feel the same way. I feel like I've missed out on a lot, but I'm happy to found
quite an undertaking.
Out this, I know. Could you imagine going back to playing all the Metal Gears? Oh my god!
I went and added the Legacy Collection, and that day added the Legacy Collection to my Amazon wishlist and Phantom Pain. So,
does the Legacy Collection have all of them up until now, other than Pain?
I think so.
Oh, really?
Is it really all of them?
It might be missing a couple of the smaller ones. It might be just the first three. I need to double check.
Maybe I imagine.
But I looked at it and I was like, "Ooh, that's all of them." Yes, please.
Because I mean, good packages come in threes. I mean, there's three of us.
Come on. I will get it. Maybe I'll like stop there because I have two. I want to talk about Halo 5 and Fallout 4. Those are the other big games for me in 2015. And we should maybe split it up. I'll let you guys go.
Okay.
But Metal Gear Solid was and still is something that is like I've never had a game so quickly been like iconic already. You know, like even thinking about it in my memory, like the characters and the situations and the maps and like everything about it, I'm like, God, it is so well done. And it was so much fun to play. I'm a huge stealth fan. I know we haven't talked about.
No, it is really fun.
I love stealth.
It's so fun to like be super stealthy.
It is.
Just
what is it
around.
about?
I'm gonna touch on that. No, I'm not. Mistake. I'm not going to touch. I was going to say I was going to talk about a game later, but that's for another episode.
Okay.
My bad, listeners. Come back next time.
Well, if we ever talk about stealth games in general, and we haven't talked about this, but I've played every single Splinter Cell game, and I am a huge fan.
That's right.
Has it ever come up before? Because I feel like I've never even heard you say those
Tom
words.
Clancy has not been brought up before.
That's why we've had kind of mixed feelings about the new one, Siege.
Oh, yeah. I need to play it, to be honest, but I'm like not even interested in it.
I played the beta. Yeah. And I know that it had some issues, so they delayed it a little bit there, but it just didn't do anything for me.
I'm a huge Rainbow Six fan. Yeah, I'm not really that interested in getting it. But Splinter Cell, one day we'll talk. I would love to go into depth about the first two Splinter Cells in particular. Nice. Those are some solid games that made me appreciate being a sneaky man. I love it.
So, do you want to go next, Mogan, or do you want me to go first? Then we'll transition to you.
Well, the thing is, like, if we're doing threes, obviously all good things come in threes.
We don't have to do threes.
My three would be really, really vague because there is no real third. There are 2 games from this year that I feel had a very big impact on me and on gaming in general, and everything else was just kind of secondary. So off the top of my head, Splatoon did come out this past year. It's a very, very fun game. If you haven't played it, it's fantastic. It's obviously for the Wii U, Nintendo. It's a lot of fun in terms of team play and online play, but as unique and interesting as it is, it just hasn't really stayed with me in the way that other games do. Mm-hmm. And then all of the other ones that I really want to play, Phantom Pain now, Rise of the Tomb Raider, which I cannot stop thinking about and still don't have. Mm-hmm. Hopefully I will be able to talk about that very soon, but for now, the wallet is a little bit empty.
Moths flying out of it. Wait, so what did you play this year?
Well, the other 2 that I will be talking about are Ori and the Blind Forest, which came out way back in the beginning of the year. Like, what did we say, March?
Like March, I think.
Yeah, it was way early on. And then more recently would be Undertale. So I think we've talked a little bit about Undertale. I have a lot to say about it, but...
I just real quick, I read that... I'm going to butcher this. What's the website's name? Kotaku?
Yeah, Kotaku.
Yeah, Kotaku.
Kotaku?
Yeah.
Kotaku. Sorry.
How different could it be?
I forget the spelling in my head.
I
read that review, and that review is emotional.
I didn't even read their review. There's this joke on the internet. And there's this one particular comic that I'm thinking of where it's like these 2 people and they're playing Undertale, and then in the distance they see a light come on and they're like, what is that? And then like this guy with this big shaggy beard shows up and they're like, it's him, the fabled one, the last man on the internet that hasn't played Undertale. And like I'm looking at both of them right now. They're right here.
Where are those
here
beds?
They are.
Somehow Undertale completely passed by my radar. And I did not hear about it.
Well, it's not a console game. It's only on.
It's only on OS X and Microsoft, so it's literally only on PC or Mac.
Which you have.
So,
which I have, but still, I totally missed it, and I didn't hear about it until we were looking at Game Award nominees.
Yeah, and most people have and are currently playing it on Steam. So anybody that has Steam, it's a great addition to their current roster.
I do have Steam.
Yeah, well, chop.
We're waiting.
No excuse then. So that one is definitely something that I will be able to talk more about, but for now I'm going to go on ahead and toss it back to Jerrett.
All right. So for me, 2015, it was kind of an interesting year in the fact that I feel like I didn't really play a lot of the things that came out this year. I hit a couple, like Star Wars Battlefront, Halo 5, because I recently got an Xbox One. And so, and all that, but other than that, I can't really think off the top of my head. I was looking back at my list of games.
Those are 2 good ones.
I was about to say,
Jerrett has a poster of Battlefront.
And actually,
to my left
what I was going to see, I'm really
saying.
interested to know why we haven't heard more about that from you just in general conversation, because I feel like we talk a lot. And I haven't really heard that much from you about Battlefront.
I mean, it's the same kind of... I love it because it's Star Wars. As anything that's going to be Star Wars.
That's why I was curious. That's why I was confused.
Bumped up in level of awesome. Just because it's Star Wars. And that's going to cloud judgment forever. So just be forewarned, everyone. But,
well, at least he's honest.
But... It's really fun. I really love it. It's a great one to play and get picked up into. But I mean, there's not a single player campaign to it. And I heard this in a lot of reviews about it. It's really fun. It makes you feel like you're part of the movies and part of the universe, because it does. Like sound effects. Sound effects really are the biggest thing. Like you can have a shield that goes over you, or you can even have for you and other teammates, or you can even have one that's personally just on your character. And when that comes up and the laser bolts are hitting you, it sounds just like from the movies, and it just how they master the sound makes it feel like it's just you're literally being covered by a shield right now.
That's cool.
It's so nice. It's so good. But that being said, it does lack a little meat. Like
That's what I've heard.
It needs a little bit more. I'm interested to see what's going to happen with DLC. Like they just released the new Battle of Jakku DLC. That was just released for free for everyone, and that introduced a new game mode called Turning Point, which is actually really fun. It's one of the big 40-player modes that you can have on there. Yeah, that's the other big thing.
That sounds interesting.
The amount of players you can have.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good.
It's an epic war thing. It's more so, and what's fun about it too, and I was telling this to another buddy who was like, I'm not very good at first-person shooters. That he was saying he's not very good at first-person shooters. And I said, you don't really have to be. As long as you can master aiming and leading the enemies and stuff like that, you'll get kills. It's not even really a game where you aim down the sights as much. You can, but it's not going to totally affect anything. It's not like you're going to be able to stand back with a pistol and aim down the sights to get a one-shot headshot from somebody way across the map. I mean, you could, in theory, kill that person if they were standing still for long enough, and
which is what I would need.
That would be Mogan.
But it just gives an excellent mix of, because you can have the Star Wars vehicles, like all the all-terrain scout trooper vehicles and all this.
Testing your knowledge.
Wow,
here.
that was bad. That's a brain fart on that one. But all the vehicles that can come in, because you can have ground vehicles, air vehicles, all at once.
The AT&T.
Yeah, you can.
Oh, you can.
Yeah,
it's not called AT&T. It's
AT
and AT.
Yeah,
you can drive those.
AT-AT.
I thought you couldn't drive those.
You can.
No,
you can get it. You don't drive it. You shoot the weapons. You shoot its weapons.
You
and stuff
control
like that.
one
but
leg.
It's just a massive battlefield, which makes it super fun, super chaotic. But again, it's not the best shooter I've ever played.
Right.
But it was really fun.
I'll be curious to see the longevity with your relationship with it. I wonder how long you'll be playing it.
I mean, I still keep it up. I mean, I know it just came out a little over a month ago, but I still switch it out and keep it in my rotation. I'm switching between Halo 5 and Battlefront mostly.
Halo 5 might take over.
Yeah, it might as I get more into it.
Happen.
And so I really like that one. But yeah, no, I really don't feel like I played a whole lot of games that actually came out this last year. I did make a list of all the games that I did finish this year. Not necessarily started and finished.
The list is long.
It's a long list.
I'm looking at it right now.
Well, because there are a couple on here that I started a long time ago and finally just powered through and finished.
Let's hear them.
So, in order of completion, Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag, Dragon Age Awakening. See, that's the DLC, first major expansion pack to the first Dragon Age game.
Wow. And
I just finished it this year.
Okay.
Like early this year.
Okay.
Valiant Hearts: The Great War, which I would recommend that one highly.
I've never even heard
I played it on my
never heard those words.
I played it on my iPhone. It's for PS4, Vita, I think Xbox as well. Because it's Ubisoft. But that is a game similar to Ori and the Blind Forest. I played it because I heard the soundtrack. And the soundtrack is fantastic.
Well, now you've got my interest. You know how I feel about soundtracks.
It was super fun, and one that packed an emotional punch I was not expecting.
Okay.
So I would say, if you have the time,
what is it again?
Valiant Hearts: The
Mogan's
Great
gonna write it
War.
in our hand again.
Yeah, I need. Where's my pen? No, I have. It's great. I have the tiniest little notebook you ever did see.
Very nice.
With
That
the
is cute.
tiniest little writing you ever did see inside of it.
Then I finished Guacamelee, which is a really fun 2D side scroller.
And does it have anything to do with guacamole?
It has. You're a luchador.
Oh, that's close.
It's pretty fun.
Okay,
it's
I see
really
what they
fun.
did there.
Then I played an old one, Duke Nukem 3D.
Why?
It was because it came.
Why?
See, now this is another thing that was very interesting for me for 2015. I played a lot of more independent games because I bought a PS Vita within the last year, and with my PS Plus subscription, a lot of the games they give for that are these independent games that I normally probably wouldn't buy.
Right.
Just like what you were saying, I have a limited budget.
I'd like to play a bunch
exactly.
of games,
and so I played a lot more of those this year and got a few into that, and some of these are on this list. So like Duke Nukem is the old game from the 90s, and they released it for that, and I was like, hell yeah, and it was free on the PS Plus. I was like, hell yeah, I'll play this.
Cool.
It was a lot of fun. Watch Dogs.
Oh yeah, was that this past year? Oh, you just beat it.
I just beat it.
Okay.
It came out 2014.
Yeah, it did. I was going to say that.
And it was.
Year.
I know it got a lot of flack. I liked it.
Yeah.
I liked it a lot. I thought it had. I'm really interested to see what's going to happen, and if Watch Dogs 2 ever comes around. They've talked about it. But I really liked it. I thought it incorporated a lot of really fun elements, like all the hacking that you can do. Like you can control traffic signals and everything while you're driving. Right. You can cause all this mayhem just from your phone.
Eyes got wide. Have you seen this game? Mogan?
No, I don't even.
It's all digital.
Don't even know.
It was really fun. Yeah, you use your cell phone to like hack into stuff.
Off.
It's like futuristic Chicago, slightly futuristic Chicago. Chicago is controlled by this CTOS, is what it's called, and it basically can track and identify every inhabitant of the city, and you can hack into that and use it to your advantage. Like you can steal people's bank accounts by hacking their phone.
So is that the goal? Are you trying to steal from people?
No, I'm joking.
No,
are you just
you're just a perv.
Just a ruffian.
Just person into.
The goal of it is that you were once part of this elite hacking group, and you tried to get out I believe I might be.
And they pulled
But
you
then they
back
pulled you
in.
back.
They
Basically-
always pull you back
Basically,
in.
yeah, they attacked your family. And
Of course they did.
and
Did
you're-
they steal your daughter?
No, they killed your
guess.
they
Good
killed
guess.
your niece actually.
Oh, well, we got to change it up a little
Always
bit.
the female relative.
is.
Why? Why
But-
never
It is.
like your brother or
It
your
had
son?
some really great gameplay. The one thing about you could drive cars, and I could never get good at driving the cars in that game. The car
It looks
mechanics were a
wonky,
little
yeah.
difficult.
It looks weird.
But overall, I really like the game. Soundtrack is a great one too. It's just very very subtle through the
Yes.
whole thing. Never crazy, never action. It's great for like studying or working or something like that. I really like it. Batman Arkham Asylum, the first one of the new Batman games. Injustice Gods Among Us, which was a DC Comics fighting game made by NetherRealm Studios, similar to Mortal Kombat. Dragon Age 2, again, another one I started probably 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And just
You've
now
completed
finished.
a lot.
Yeah.
Then Metal Gear Solid Ground Zeroes. I talked about how much I like that one. Middle Earth Shadow of Mordor, also a very fun game. And special note, that was the very first game I've actually platinumed, which is you unlock all of
I
the
remember
trophies
you
in
mentioning
PlayStation.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
In the PlayStation, if you unlock all the trophies, you get the main
Do you
platinum
remember
trophy.
where you were when you platinumed it?
I was here in this house.
What'd you do?
I took a picture of it and posted it to Instagram.
Like any sane person.
and I actually got 100% completion on it too. So that was pretty
Oh,
awesome.
that's impressive.
That was a fun game too.
I've only done that with one game. Can you guess what it is real quick? I've mentioned it before.
Is it Halo 2?
Nope.
Oh, damn
Come
it.
on, easier. And it involves.
Is it Super Mario 64?
I haven't talked about it yet.
Have you?
No, I'm blanking.
Wait, was it the ping pong
Marvel
game?
Blast Ultra.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
I got every achievement.
I was
for
close.
That.
I was getting
that
there.
was close.
I was
You were
getting there.
balls.
And then I beat all the expansions for, well, as much as I could beat the expansions of Destiny
the best
that
of my
came out.
ability.
Well, I mean, the stuff that didn't require damn matchmaking. I beat the Destiny stuff, the Taken King and House of Wolves. Then Hotline Miami.
Oh, I heard good things about
That
that.
game was so fun.
Good soundtrack. I heard.
Yes.
Yeah.
Excellent game. It's super gory and over
Over
the
the
top
top
violent.
shooter.
Yeah.
Like, have you
No.
seen over the top shooter? Like super neon
pixelated.
lights?
Like it's very, very pixel art
Yeah,
graphic
looks
style.
Oh, so it's a throwback.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a throwback
Gotcha,
game,
gotcha.
but it was so much fun because I rushed in thinking you had a health bar. Silly me, you don't have a
you
health
get, like,
bar.
killed.
You get hit with one thing and
Yeah.
you die and you have to restart. And so it's very complicated, but it just made you just do these bold and outrageous things to try to win each level. It was a ton
to
of
play
fun.
that.
And then my last one that I completed this year was Far Cry 4, which was an excellent game as well.
I got a buddy playing that right now. He loves it.
Oh, it's
Big
it's
Far
fun.
Cry fan.
It's fun.
No, I never played it. Don't really care to.
The villain,
I'll be
Well,
honest.
for them's fighting words, probably.
I really like this Far Cry series. I played Far Cry 3 before, is the only one I've played. I've been meaning to go back and play Far Cry 1 and Far Cry 2.
I want to play Just Cause 3.
Yeah, that one looks interesting.
That looks
I
a little.
heard weird mixed things
Really?
about it.
That one
fun.
is kind of like, I feel like it's kind of a little bit of Far Cry, but
That's
on
what I was
steroids.
saying. I'd be like, I'd rather get that than Far Cry. I think.
Because Far Cry, you can do some crazy things, but everything I've seen of Just Cause 3 is so much more.
And you gotta
over
be
the top.
into that stuff. Like I want to like fly on a flying barrel that I shot and like flames coming out of
Yeah.
it and like my
See, one of the
wingsuit.
more interesting reviews I read was that I was simultaneously bored and incredibly entertained.
Yeah,
and
I
it's
could
like
see-
those
yeah.
are two. You're saying the exact
I mean,
opposite
well,
words.
it looks fun to play, but I bet you there's not much substance to it.
Yeah.
I'm guessing. I don't know. I played the first demo for like a lot.
We'll see when it comes out. But anyway, so that was my
good.
my ones of 2015 that I played. So okay, so Zach, you were talking about earlier. You were
Yeah.
talking about your other two games,
I
Halo
got two
5
more.
and Fallout 4.
That's right. Wow. Thank you.
Memory
Sorry.
is so good.
Yeah, it's
What
good
was that?
memory.
20 whole minutes ago.
Oh,
Gosh.
I love it. Mogan spitting fire. All right. Yeah. So Halo 5 came out. I'm a huge Halo fan, so this is very exciting for me.
Really? Are you?
Oh, not really, actually. I made all that stuff
Mediocre.
up about Halo.
I've only bragged about my high placement on the leaderboards about a billion
I'm an
times.
MLG pro in hiding. With Halo 5 coming out, this is the second installment by 343, which took it over from Bungie. I will always... No, I can't say that because I want to be as unbiased as possible. I prefer, so far, Bungie's approach to Halo.
I agree.
There are three... The Master Chief Trilogy is Halo for me. When Halo 4 came out, however, I actually thought 343 did a decent job with the campaign. The multiplayer, not so much. I thought it was a little bit lacking. In Halo 5, reverse that. Halo 5's campaign, I was thinking about today, I was driving around, I was just ranking the campaigns, and not in any kind of maniacal way or like a stab at Halo 5. I was like, oh, Halo 5's the worst. It just kind of turned up that way.
Yeah.
Halo 4's campaign actually isn't terrible. I think I put 1, 2, and 3 before Halo 4, but Halo 4 is better than Halo 5 as far as campaign. And that's a bummer to me because...
I was about to say, it sounds like they're getting progressively worse.
They're not getting progressively worse because Halo 4 did a decent job.
I really liked the campaign of Halo 4.
Halo 4 is a decent job. I don't think... What Bungie was doing, though, I don't think 343 will be able to kind of touch. And that's not entirely their fault. Bungie had the luxury of... luxury. They had the skill of creating it and then the luxury of being able to finish out that story properly. They knew what I think they were doing. And 343 is kind of taking it another direction, which is always going to catch some flack. Though I thought, like I said, Halo 4 did a decent job with it. Unfortunately, though, I think Halo 5 is just, the campaign-wise, was just underwhelming in a lot of different ways. We were talking about this earlier. They included some AI companions, which might be good in theory, but I prefer Halo as a lone wolf, and that's a preference.
Me too.
I don't think it was executed poorly. I just would say that no game I've ever played had good AI companions. I think games are kind of catching up to that, and that's just my opinion. I mean, maybe there is a game where I've missed that has really good AI companions. I don't know.
I mean, typically your companions are just dying right and left, and you're like, these guys.
And not that they're dying right and left. It's just that they're just there,
slowing you down.
They're not bad, but they're not good.
Messing up.
They're
your
just
flow.
there.
Yeah, there hardly ever is that moment where like, oh, I'm about to die, and then all out of nowhere comes the AI companion and blasts the guy away and saves your ass.
See, I'm thinking specifically of Kingdom Hearts, and all of your companions are bad. They're just always bad, and I'm just like, if these guys would just go away, I could play the game so much better.
Well, because sometimes it's tied to if they get damaged where they're about to die.
See,
you
that's
have
the
to
thing.
save them.
Every time you look around, they're dead, and you're like, great, thanks for helping, guys. This is super useful.
There are several missions from Halo 5 that stick out to me, but like 2 tops. And that's unfortunate. There was just nothing really memorable that happened. Like, they're all consistently okay.
Yeah.
It was kind of a banal game.
And in a lot of ways, that's worse. Because if you hate a game, at least you have passion about hating it. Whereas if it's just like, meh.
Yeah, it was just kind of meh. And I will say this, in their credit, I think the story could be taken in a very interesting direction for Halo 6. I think they actually set themselves up kind of nicely to do something pretty interesting.
Did it end on like a cliffhanger?
Did it end on a cliffhanger?
Bit of a cliffhanger?
Kind of. Yes, it did. But it ended on like, we see where this is going. It's not so much like what's going to happen next. It's kind of like, oh, like everything's kind of getting brought back together. I don't want to give spoilers away, but
yeah, because it's still pretty recent.
Yeah. I guess. Most people have probably beaten it, though.
I'm still working through it.
The ending, it looks like they did Sopranos, where it's like cuts off like in the middle. And it's surprisingly, I'm like, there's not another cutscene after that. It's surprising. And I know you're still playing it, so I'll be interested in your thoughts on that. And I don't want to go into it too much about the campaign, but there's also things about just fighting the Prometheans isn't as fun as fighting the Covenant, in my opinion. The Spartans feel overpowered. It never felt too difficult compared to other games. I mean, after Halo 5 campaign, me and my buddy went back and played Halo 1, and we were like, wow, Halo 1 is so much better. And that's, 15 years ago. But Halo 1, that's not fair. Halo 1's a great campaign. Nothing can compare. But here's the flip side of this coin. The multiplayer I really like. I think they've done a really good job with the multiplayer, and honestly, for all the Halos, for all the campaigns I love throughout the Halos, the multiplayer is what keeps me playing, and they did, I think, a pretty good job. Maps, okay, there's nothing that really sticks out, and that's a big thing for me. I think Bungie always did a better job at map making, and that's a huge thing for me to have kind of iconic maps to play on. However, there's a pacing, there's a competitiveness, and it is a lot of fun, But I guess more importantly for me, there's a competitiveness to it that I really love.
They kind of set it up, though, more with professional gaming, esports in mind.
They did. I think they did. And
I like it, too.
Hats off to them for doing that.
I like it, too. The one thing, and this is just small.
It's hard.
It's very hard. I'm getting my ass kicked repeatedly.
I was about to say, you going Prozac?
It's fast.
But
I don't know.
The one thing about it, and this is a small cosmetic detail about it, that kind of just, I'm like, why is this even an option then? And maybe I'm just missing it and haven't got to it yet. Why can you customize your color and shadings of your armor, but then when you actually go to a place where anyone's going to play you, you're just red or blue?
Well, you do free for all. You got your armor.
That is true.
You got.
I was forgetting about that.
You got your armor, but
Never
blue
mind.
and red.
My apologies.
Yeah.
343.
For me, it's all about aesthetics.
But it's always been like
so
that.
that'd
I mean,
be a
it's
big bummer.
I agree. I love like customizing my guy and making him like this is my guy. This is what I look like. And, But it's when you do multiplayer red versus blue, it's always been red versus blue.
That's true. That's true.
But at least you get what your
I was forgetting
armor
about
looks
the.
like.
I was forgetting about the.
Yeah,
free
and
for
I
all.
play a lot of free for all. That's where my main thing is.
Nice.
Well, my main thing maybe not, but really good competitive Halo is brought back into my life. That makes me happy because I can play competitive Halo again, and I love that. And I have Fallout 4 on my list, and that's something I'm in the middle of right now. But I'm a big fan of Bethesda and what they did with Oblivion and Skyrim. So Fallout 4, pretty big fan of. Never played any other Fallout.
Okay, that's what I was about to. That's what I was about to ask you.
Oh, yeah?
I'm currently playing through Fallout 3.
Okay,
and it's fun. It's really fun. Like I got into it.
I heard good things.
I got into it. It sucked me in very quickly.
Yeah, it's immersive. I mean, they do a good job with.
It took me a little bit to get
detail.
started because you do have a lot of setup in the vault before you leave the vault in Fallout 3.
Yeah,
and that kind of stuff. I was just like, okay, I want to get out.
Right,
I want to get out there. But I understand that's an
the
indie
nature
game.
of the
That's an
game.
indie game.
I know.
But then once I got out into the wasteland, I was like, oh,
it's cool. And the only most everything I love about it, I even think the gun mechanics and getting into firefights in that game is a lot of fun. I know I've talked about this before, but like the bullet holes and like the dust flying out of the wall next to me, I'm like, oh wow, this is like could pass as just a first person shooter as is.
Right.
Forget the RPG mechanics. It's a good first person shooter.
So do you agree, having played it, that a lot of has it been a big issue to you? Because a lot of people were complaining that the graphics don't look up to snuff with current generation games.
Really?
That's not an issue for me. I think it looks pretty good. I will say that I prefer to wander around Tamriel than the wasteland of Boston or wherever the other one was.
Yeah,
DC.
Well, wouldn't everyone?
and I never thought it would be that big a deal, but like I get home and there's been nights where I'm like, I want to play Fallout. Man, no, I don't really want to play Fallout. Like I guarantee you, if it was Skyrim or Oblivion, I would want just to wander around a beautiful map. That place is fucking depressing. I mean, there's like dead
I think that's the point.
Everywhere. Exactly. And I don't want to like knock them for making it so well made of a
They did
depressing
too
place.
good of a job.
But it's like you don't want to go there that often. Even you set up your own campsite, it's shitty. It's like you like make a metal box for yourself, and you're like, this is like the best it's gonna get.
I was actually playing. I was
not
actually
gonna get much better than this.
I was actually playing Fallout 3 a little bit today, and it's all these people who are getting attacked by the raiders, and they're just like, "But I've made my home here, and it's this nasty ass shack."
Yeah,
it's just like, well, I guess it's the best of what you can do. You're right, but no, Fallout 4 is on my list of games to hit in the next year, and maybe I'll beat Fallout 3 first.
I mean, overall, here's something that happened to me before I came here. I was playing earlier. I was going to return something for a quest for this guy, and I was going to the Cabot House. I think that's what it's called. And I was like, oh, I've never been to. There's a place you pass in the Boston streets, and it's like an art gallery. I was like, oh, I'll go to the art gallery. And I got sucked into a whole other storyline following this guy named Pikmin for all chances.
Really?
Yeah, and like trying to help him get away from these raiders that he's been killing. And I'm like, now I'm totally forgetting about what I was doing in the first place.
Yeah.
So, and they do such a good job with that. And like, what other games?
Wait, so
right
how
now?
was the art gallery? Did any
It
of the
was
pieces really
disturbing.
jump out at
Just
you?
like Fallout, disturbing. I mean, just gruesome. Dead bodies, like skinned alive.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really gory.
It is a pretty gory
You
game.
shoot someone's head off, its blood comes out for days.
Yeah.
It's gross, but I like it.
For days.
kinda like
For days.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. But yeah, so those Halo 5, Metal Gear Solid 5, and Fallout 4 equally, I think, played pretty significant roles. And man, if I were to and this will be the last thing I'll say about this, if I were to kind of look at these games on a wall, Metal Gear Solid 5, I would keep up there. I don't know if that's a weird analogy.
Top spot.
No,
But
Interesting.
Metal Gear Solid 5, I just for its uniqueness alone.
Yeah.
Its freshness in my mind. I was very impressed with Metal Gear Solid 5. I love that game.
Hey, it's always a good thing, good feeling to become a new fan of a new
fan.
series.
They can welcome me or they can tell me to go fuck myself. I've never played the other ones.
All right.
All right, I'm ready now. So
All right. Collecting my thoughts.
I'm ready. So in terms of Fallout 4 being a really super gory, depressing game, an interesting segue would be to then go to Undertale. Because Undertale is arguably, it has the potential to be the exact opposite. So the tagline for Undertale is actually the friendly game where nobody has to die. And for me, I'm like, that's just the best sounding thing I've ever heard.
It sounds like a setup, though.
Because sometimes you definitely want to blow people's brains out and blood comes out for days. And other times you're like, I really don't feel like doing that. And Undertale has the ability to play the game in what most people are calling pacifist mode. So do like a pacifist one where you complete the entire game without killing a single enemy, monster, whatever. And that's one of the big goals. The opposite side is, I forget what it's actually called, but where you play the game and you kill everyone. Everyone has to die. And the interesting way that the story is told is really touching. It's really heartfelt.
That's what I've heard.
So I need to give you guys a bit of a setup. So Undertale, it's similar in style to, it's a throwback game. So it's top-down overview. It's very pixelated. You just play this little person. It's kind of not really, I don't think it's ever specifically said if you're a boy or a girl, but the character's name is Frisk. So you're this little, yeah.
That doesn't help.
So, no, it doesn't help at all. So
It's up for the player to decide.
Yeah, it is. It kind of is. It's kind of up for you to decide.
Please.
This isn't Pokemon where you have to tell Professor Oak, are you a boy or a girl? No,
Do they do that in Pokemon?
Yeah, they do. At the very beginning of the game, that's how it picks. Well, if you're going to be a boy, it's not one of the options. So you're just this little human kid, Frisk. And the whole game starts with you go to this mountain, and it's one of the only places in the world where you can get to the underground. So the whole setup is the underground is basically where all of the monsters of the world now live because bajillions of years ago or whatever, human world and monster world were separated because of a war, something, blah, blah, the underground, all the monsters went to the underground. So you are in the underground now. And basically the game is you trying to get out of the underground. So everything that's in the underground is a monster. But they are all very well fleshed out characters. So every battle is this new character, and you can either play a battle in the way that you want to kill the character, or by not killing them, you can basically instead of doing an actual action, you just talk to them. Because the entire battle, they're talking to you. Like and it's really funny. It's a really funny, humorous game. It's really funnily written. There's tons of jokes. You'll be laughing your ass off. So if you choose to not actually fight them, if you just choose to talk to them, if you talk the right way, if you ask the right questions, say the right answers, you can eventually get to the point in a battle where you can spare them. So instead of you actually winning, you just choose to spare whoever it is that you're fighting. And by sparing them, you basically befriend them. Now, not everyone is actually your friend. Some of the characters are a bit more antagonistic than others. Mainly the flower, the friendly little smiley flower. Maybe you've seen it? Mm-mm. No, that's okay. You'll get to it. So the friendly little smiley flower, I think his name is actually Flowey. Okay. But anyways, so he's like the worst one. But everyone else is really... What really strikes me about the game is how well fleshed out the characters are, considering how visually non-impressive it is. Jerrett wants to kill the dog next door right now.
Is it long?
So let's all be pacifists here. Let's not take it out on the dog. So Undertale is one of the few games that I can remember in recent history that like simultaneously makes you laugh and laugh and laugh, and then you're also like, oh, but I'm kind of sad now too. So like it's funny, but it's also
mix
sad.
Of emotions.
It is. It's a real mix of emotions, and depending on how you play the game, whether you're going to kill everybody right and left or be a pacifist or a mix of both, that obviously determines the ending of the game. So it does have a lot of replay value in that. Obviously, you can play the game as a pacifist first and then kill everybody the next time around. So there's a lot of ability for you to come back to it, and it's not very long. It's a relatively short game. It was actually made by only one guy. So one guy did everything.
Wow.
Like
That's
except
impressive.
for a little bit of help with the art. What's his name? I wrote it down. Toby Fox.
Oh, nice.
Did everything for the whole game. He did all the programming. He did the music. He did all of the
That's
stuff.
impressive.
And so if you want to talk about an indie game, Undertale is an indie.
Doesn't get much more indie
It's
than that.
one
Seriously
guy.
not.
It's a one guy making a game. I think he said it took him like 2 years. And actually what's interesting is that it was originally a Kickstarter. And his original goal was only $5,000, but he raised over $50,000 for it.
Holy crap.
And it wound up being a huge success, a huge critical success. Also now getting closer to being a big commercial success.
Yeah.
So it's
Nominated for a
obviously
Game Award.
Yeah, nominated for a bunch of game awards. It was nominated for 3 categories. Didn't win any of them.
No, it didn't
Got
win, unfortunately. But hey,
robbed
that's a big
instead.
thing to at least be
but
nominated.
it is, for one guy to do all of that, I think that's incredibly impressive.
Nice.
So Undertale, definitely sticking with me.
Cool.
Well, I just want to say real quick that the only thing I know about Undertale is a review I read from Kotaku. I wish I knew the guy's name. I can bring it up real quick. But basically, he talks about it's one of the most interesting reviews I've ever read because he gets very personal about his life in it. He's like, I just moved to San Francisco. And he was talking about he was depressed. He didn't have any friends. Mm-hmm. The friends he did have, I guess, were not who he wanted to really be friends with. They're kind of taking him down a dark path. And he played this game that changed everything for him. I mean, he said it was the first, one of the first games he's ever cried at the end at, and he made him appreciate friendship and what people
hard,
mean.
It's
to
really
him.
hard to describe in words how much the game impresses upon you emotionally.
That's what he said. He said it was amazing.
Because if you just looked at a screenshot of the game, you'd be like, "What the hell is that?"
Yeah.
But then you actually play it, and you're like, "Holy crap! I'm so invested."
Nathan Grayson, I got it, is the guy that wrote the.
Gotcha.
People, and here's the first paragraph. People don't like Undertale; they love it. This game is personal for them. It's personal for me too, and it's got a great review.
Interesting.
I read the
I'll
whole
have to go
thing.
read that.
I actually haven't read
I
it.
was just
I'll
reading
have to
because I was
read
curious
it.
about this guy, spilling his guts a little bit, and I always appreciate that.
That's
I
cool.
feel like that's how the game makes a lot of people feel.
Yeah,
And
they
the
love
fan
it.
base of Undertale is really great because there's just funny comics, funny art. It's a
Yeah.
really good place to be right now because it's still so new. It only came out in September.
Oh.
So it's
we
still
gotta get
still
on that.
quite new.
Yeah.
I could get on my Mac.
Yeah, it's not too
computer.
late. You don't have to always be the last two people on the internet who haven't played
sorry.
Undertale.
I don't want to be that guy.
Nice.
How embarrassing.
So you had one more game you wanted to talk about that
I
made an
did.
impact on you.
We
in
could talk
2015.
about it a little bit. So
Yeah.
this will be me convincing you that you definitely need to play it.
I mean, I don't know how much more convincing I'm going to need.
Oh, not much. So Ori and the Blind Forest.
Oh,
We just talked about
We
this.
did.
I said it earlier. It's not like a surprise.
Yeah.
So actually, it's funny that the only two games on my list for this year are both indie games. So Ori and the Blind Forest, developed by Moon Studios, I believe, and then of course published by Microsoft. So people can play it on PC. They can also play it on. It actually is Mac compatible, and then you can play it on Xbox.
and
Yeah,
stuff,
Xbox One. And they keep saying they're going to release it for the 360, but I don't know if they actually have yet or not.
They shouldn't do
because it was
that.
supposed to happen by the end of this year, and I'm not actually sure that it did.
Well, maybe they should.
But the
Oh,
point
what do I
is,
know?
Ori and the Blind Forest came out back in March, not super new. But in terms of the whole year in gaming, I'm not sure that I can think of a game that is its artistic equivalent.
Yeah, because that's how. Again, I came up with it. I think I was actually first introduced to it. I think I'd heard the name, but hadn't really looked into it until I was looking through the list of the nominees for the Game Awards and saw that it was, it was up for several awards, and then it wound up winning a couple. And right then I went and listened to the soundtrack since the soundtrack was nominated, and my God,
Yeah.
the
That's
heartstrings.
I listened to the soundtrack
no,
too,
that's
based
what
on
got
your-
me. So
y'all saying
I
that.
was just at work one day
really good.
and I was listening to the Journey soundtrack on YouTube because I was like, I need to listen to something really soothing and emotional right now because that's what most people do in an office, right? But then it was like, of course, in the the related videos
Yeah.
or whatever, there was this game Ori and the Blind Forest, and I was like, sure, why not? I'll branch out today. And I listened to it and I was like, I have to know more.
Exactly.
Right
That was exactly my reaction to it. And so I said, I have to know more. I went and watched the trailer, and even from the trailer, I was emotionally connected to it.
It's
gotta
so
see this. I gotta
it's
see
so like there's different types of graphics in gaming. There are the ultra realistic, super clean, super beautiful graphics like in Phantom Pain or in Rise of the Tomb Raider. Those are all
Yeah.
really, really beautiful games, but
Very
not
realistic.
in the same way. You don't look at a real sunset in real life and think of it in the same artistic sense as you would a painting of a sunset.
Right.
So in that sense, Ori and the Blind Forest is graphically and visually stunning, but in such a different way that you really can't make a direct comparison.
It's
They're
almost
just too
it
different.
almost has this
Well, that brings
it's like it's almost a childish feel to it.
It is. So
but then
in-
there's also in the parts in the trailer, especially when it was showing like the evil that you have to face.
See, actually, I was going to say, if you watched just videos or just, the trailer, you wouldn't really be able to immediately grasp. It's hard. There are certain levels of that game that are infuriating. So if no one's ever seen it, it is a 2D side scroller. So, but it is very open. So there actually aren't any loading screens at all. So it's very good at keeping you really
Yeah, I like
in the
that.
moment
I like
because
that.
there's no pause. Like unless you actually stop or pause the game, it's very seamless. So it's very open. Even though it's a flat 2D world, it feels very expansive, which is hard to do in a 2D side scroller. I
Right.
mean, even in terms of like Mario, you never feel like you're in a big giant
No,
world. It's a
no.
linear world. And Ori and the Blind Forest really doesn't feel like that to me. So you might look at it and go, oh, this is a kid's game. But actually you play it, and I'm not sure a kid could do it. Some of those levels are, the escape scene in particular is very, very difficult.
I am very interested in this game. You guys have piqued my interest, and I like what you were saying about games that have this sort of artistic feel. And I don't think it's new in video games. I think games have been slowly developing different styles in terms of how they look. But it's a very interesting conversation to have about what constitutes as good graphics, for example, or what constitutes as a good art direction in a game. Because I'm thinking about games like Limbo that I was speaking about.
We should go into that
earlier.
further in depth on a podcast. That'd
We
be a good
need
one.
to, because that is something in this medium that can be dissected. And with paintings or with literature, that's something you could have a real grasp on the artistic structure of video games.
Right.
And actually, so we were also talking about cinematics earlier.
Yeah.
The makers of Ori and the Blind Forest have very openly stated a lot of different influences that kind of not dictated, but just very much influenced how they made the game. And some of the sources that they cited were they were trying to get back to games or just sort of call up games like A Link to the Past and the old Metroid games, so the old 2D side-scrolling Metroid games. But then they also cited artistic influences like the movies of Hayao Miyazaki.
Yeah.
So actually one of the levels is even a direct kind of shout out to Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind, because one of the levels is called Valley of the Wind. So they were very open about saying, no, we were really impressed upon by different artistic styles. And so I think it's really interesting to see that in the game, because I wouldn't have immediately thought of it myself. But after actually knowing that that is something that they took into consideration, I'm like, oh, I definitely see it now. Okay, I see where that came from.
Nice.
Yeah, I like that. Drawing on influences from other great artists. I love that. I love video. I mean, I just like games, being able to push the medium like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And, well, I'm making a note right now that we should do an art direction.
Oh, I thought you were
podcast.
writing down A+, and I was like, yeah, it is an A+ game.
A+
Yeah.
game. I'm going to review it right
it's
now.
A+, just from Mogan speaking. So, did you have any other big things from 2015
No,
that you wanted to
those
cover?
were really the only two games that really made a big impact on me. So in all the others, like there were definitely some good ones that came out. I definitely played some older games, but nothing that really stood out to me nearly as much.
Yeah.
So these were the two front runners for me by a mile.
Yeah.
So it was not even a close call.
I played an iPhone game called Alto where you ski, and it's fun.
I'm not even sure I've
like
ever
remind me
heard
of
you
Flappy
say the
Wings.
words
I haven't.
iPhone game.
No, maybe we'll do a show about iPhone games.
Yeah,
We
we
should.
haven't really
We should.
done a
That's a
lot.
big. That's a big.
There's some
I've
good
played
ones.
some. I've
There's some really good
fallen off a
ones.
little bit in how many I played, but yeah, there are some good ones that come up.
Hey, man, Times Magazine gave the #1 game to an iPhone's game.
That's
Did they?
true.
Wait, what game?
You were telling us
Prune.
about it. Prune. That's
Prune,
right.
where you chop trees and they grow. I don't know. I didn't see much
No,
of
it sounds good. It sounds good.
Yeah, sure. That's what I do.
I love gardening. It sounds perfect.
So I don't really think I have that much more that I was really going to touch on. The one thing that was like looking back on my list of games that the games that I played and completed in the last year, I really was struck by how many of the games that were released in 2015 I did not play. I mean, I know I'm starting a few like Battlefront, Halo 5. If there's that. So my big thing for this year are ones that I missed that I want to for sure go back and hit. So like those were. And I know this one got a lot of flack because it had a very short single-player campaign. It was only single-player campaign, and it felt very stilted and not as much open world as some more modern shooters have been. But The Order 1886 is a PlayStation exclusive.
I remember seeing stuff about that.
And so
That's all I have to say.
That was a very vague
But-
statement.
I remember
to me,
things.
it mixed two very interesting things to me, which is some mythology, like it has to do with werewolves and things like that. But you're also in the Victorian era London with, but you're still the Knights of the Round Table, so like Sir Galahad and Lancelot and all that. And
That's cool.
and there's just there's some like magic and mystery, and it almost gave me the feeling from everything that I saw about it of the Underworld movies.
Oh, yeah.
but in Victorian
On the
London.
Sci-Fi Channel
That's cool.
every single weekend.
Yeah,
On
I mean,
constantly.
granted, there's no vampires and only the werewolves, but it gave me that feel, and so that attracted me to it.
Cool.
Then obviously Ori and the Blind Forest. We've all talked
I
about
want to
why.
get on that board.
Do it.
Train.
Bloodborne, because that one looked just like a. I mean, it's made by the same developer from software, that made the Dark Souls, and to me, it's.
Is it as difficult, do you think?
I don't
or do
think
you
it is. I think I've heard that it's not as difficult, which is slightly why it's appealing.
I was about to say, so you can play it and not
Because I
hate
can actually
yourself.
play it
Fun.
and not want to kill myself.
And
Exactly.
Remember when Jerrett went the wrong way? And
For
yes!
5 hours.
Yeah, you're like,
on
I
Dark
like
Souls.
that game, but I
You
went
know
the
what? I'm
wrong
done
way.
with this game. We're done.
It's dark, demonic world is very beautiful in a very sinister way, and that's has my attention. So I definitely want to hit that one in the next year. Again, as I've discussed in many episodes, especially the last one, the game or in our Game Awards bonus-ode, The Witcher 3 is high on my list. I have it. I have not started
I'd
it
like
yet.
to
It will
play
probably
Witcher
be the
3
next
as
one.
well.
I thought you had already started it.
No, I just bought
You
it.
seem so invested at the Game Awards that I was
I've
like,
started-
he's definitely playing
I've-
it.
I've-
Surely,
I'm
you
playing
should beat this
through.
game.
I'm playing through The Witcher 1 right now. So I'm in the series, and already just from what I've played in The Witcher 1, I'm in love with the series.
That's awesome.
Then obviously Metal Gear Solid 5
Yeah,
Phantom
yeah.
Pain.
You're not
and
gonna play it.
No, I'm gonna.
None of you
I'll
guys
play
are
it.
gonna
I'll
play
play
I'm
it,
gonna play
Zach.
it.
I'll play
and
it.
then Mogan brought it up briefly, but Rise of the Tomb Raider. I loved the first
Oh,
one, but like I said, I just recently purchased an Xbox One, so I can play it now, but I just haven't bought it yet.
You
so.
know, actually, I even just realized I'm a total liar. There is one other game this year. So all of that talk about demons and whatnot, that actually brought back this. So it's actually another indie game, and it's definitely not recent, but this was the first year that I played it. Year Walk. Have either
Not
of you
heard of
ever?
that.
Yeah,
I love
never
that's my
heard of
favorite
it.
response when just nobody
Year
even
Walk.
the blank faces. So Year Walk. So in case I'm slurring, it's like the word year, like the year 2005, and walk, like you take a walk, because it's literally based on the concept of a year walk, which is, I believe, from Swedish folklore.
Okay.
So like way back, I think it would have been like in the 1700s. In actual time, year walks is basically the sort of pagan equivalent of a vision quest.
Okay.
So the idea is at certain times of the year, so this is where the year walk comes from, typically on big, basically holidays or like festivals. So New Year's Eve is specifically one of them where you literally take a year walk. So the idea of a year walk is you basically starve yourself all day. You don't see any of your friends or family. You shut yourself up in a dark room. You don't even turn on any lights, no even natural light, no candlelight. And so then once you're sufficiently starved to death and super disoriented, when night...
Your average day.
But your average day in Sweden. So then when night falls, you leave your house to do the actual year walk. And you do this because the year walk is meant to reveal to you what's going to happen in the coming year. So not only is it something that you only do once a year, you're also trying to find out what happens next year.
I see.
How'd
you find out about this game?
Yeah, that's a long story.
I've never heard of it.
So actually, it was originally, now that we talk about it, it was originally, I believe, an iOS game, an iPhone game, but they recently ported it to the Wii U. So I think I was actually just on the
see.
Nintendo
I
store,
see.
and I was like, I need a game. I have $7. That's a hamburger. I can spare that. So
Sacrifices
I
were
just
made.
downloaded it, and I was playing it specifically for Halloween because I love
okay.
playing horror. So actually, I should get around to that. It's a very macabre, horrific game. It's very, very short. You can easily play it in one night, and it's really, like, I don't want to spoil too much because it really is a super fun game. It actually did win quite a few awards as well for its artistic style. You would almost liken it to a storybook because it's not, I'm not sure you would call it a 2D. It's kind of in its own weird little category. So it's very, very easy to play. It's very inexpensive. If you have one more game that you're gonna play this year, do it on New Year's Eve as you have starved yourself
would
and
be
you're
an
ready
interesting
to
time to
go
do it.
out
Cool.
and do your own year walk. And
Year Walk. God,
it's
that's good.
very
That's good. Good spotlight on a game I've never
it's an
even
interesting
heard
game.
of.
And so that's three indie games
made
that
it.
you can
Made
add
it.
to your list.
3 indie games. I love it.
And then the other thing, just to close out my stuff, my recap, is some soundtracks that I really loved. Again, Ori and the Blind Forest.
Oh wait, we actually didn't say that's by Gareth Coker.
Oh yeah, Gareth Coker.
So if
I'm very excited.
I mean,
to
if
hear
anybody
other
like
things of
has his number, just please tweet it to me at Team Jack Podcast.
we want to give him our personal thanks.
Yes, yeah.
Halo 5 had a great soundtrack as well.
It did. Oh, that was another thing about Halo 5. I forget the musician's name. We should.
Kazuma
Yeah.
Giannucci.
Yep, I knew it was something like that. It was really good. I was about to say that.
Something like that.
I like
about to come up.
I like how
It's like kind of classic Halo, but new Halo.
exactly. That's what I was about to say. Halo 4 didn't have that.
Yeah,
I love the Halo 4 soundtrack.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorites.
Okay.
But I did really love that Halo 5. It brought back the chorus. The men's vocals that come in, but then it blended also some of the styles and the riffs and the motives from the Halo 4 soundtrack, kind of blended them together.
Did a much better job, in my opinion, than the Halo 4 soundtrack. I wasn't as on board with the Halo 4 soundtrack, but I know we agree on that the Halo 5.
Halo 5
really,
one is excellent.
It was good.
Wait,
I was
it
impressed.
nominated at the Game
was.
Awards?
It was.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, I think so.
I missed it.
Who won? Oh, Metal Gear Solid.
Metal Gear Solid 1, yeah.
Ori and the Blind Forest got robbed. Boo. Don't bring it up.
And then the last one, which wasn't actually from 2015, but again, I listened to it in 2015 and grew to love it, because I started playing the game, was Dragon Age Inquisition.
Ah, yes.
And this one is I've liked the other soundtracks from the previous Dragon Age games, but Inquisition is a whole nother level for the series for it. It's composed by Trevor Morris, and he's done some TV and film stuff before. The one other thing of his that's coming to mind is he did the soundtrack for the Showtime show Tudors, about Henry VIII.
Oh, yeah. Jonathan Rhys.
Jonathan Rhys Meyers.
the
Yeah,
actor.
Their opening theme is really good. Now I'm remembering it. Oh, that's that guy.
It's this guy.
That's awesome.
And
Okay,
his
cool.
opening, his Inquisition theme for this it's so epic.
Yeah.
And especially when you're going to play a game like an RPG, you want that musical score to be
Yes.
epic.
It's important.
And man, right out the gate with the theme it just sets the tone for this epic sprawling. You just imagine, even in your head while listening to it, just scenes from like Lord of the Rings or something, where people are like hiking along mountaintops and they're going through snow, then they're going through rivers and just traversing all this terrain. That's the feeling that the soundtrack invokes. And it was even though again it wasn't a 2015. It was new for me in 2015.
I've been
and I'll
wanting
do
to-
whatever I
I'm
want.
a damn rule. I will do whatever I want.
I
So-
listened to recently the Skyrim soundtrack, or the first couple playlists in the soundtrack, and then the Oblivion one.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting. The Skyrim is so epic. The opening orchestra to the. Have you played it?
No.
Skyrim. It's crazy. It's like thumping drums with like.
I know the song. I know the
It's
song.
very and so you're talking about that, and like if Skyrim sounds like someone like smashing bones on like webbed cans made of orc skin, and then Oblivion
That
sounds.
sound we're all very familiar with. We
course.
all know
So
that
vivid.
sound.
Yes.
And
description.
it's interesting because Oblivion is the exact opposite. It's like a wood elf playing a flute, and
That's relaxing in its own way.
And I like Oblivion a lot better.
These analogies are
and so it's
beautiful.
like it's interesting. Both types of music, I think, can work well, but for some reason there's a mysteriousness.
Yeah.
When you lose the epicness a little bit and you get the mysteriousness, I might prefer that.
Yeah, nice. I mean, not
Maybe
to
think of that.
Not to downplay the Einon Zur was the one who did Fallout 4.
Yeah. Did he do?
He did Dragon Age Origins and Dragon Age 2.
Okay.
And those were excellent scores. I have multiple songs from those soundtracks in my favorite soundtracks playlists on Spotify. But he did excellent. But I just think Trevor Morris's score took, and maybe they had a bigger
the
budget
right
for
fit.
it or something. I don't know. It
was the right
but
fit.
it was the right fit for this, and it's an outstanding. But yeah, that's kind of wraps up my summary of 2015 of my year in gaming and all of our years in gaming. We would love to hear what were the big moments for you from 2015 in the world of games. So please send us an email at teamchatpodcast@gmail.com or follow us on Twitter and send us a tweet there at teamchatpodcast. But with that, bring this episode to a close.
Which we're working on our closing.
Thank you
Yeah,
all.
we gotta work on it. It's
We're
never
slowly
good.
leaving the room.
We're slowly backing away from the microphones until it's so quiet.
Do a nice fade out.
Yeah.
But anyway, thank you again for listening and supporting us.
Thank you.
Come back next time for the next episode of Team Chat Podcast. Until then, I am one of your hosts, Jerrett Wilson, joined by Rachel Mogan
Peace out and Happy New Year.
and
Aw,
Zachary
it is the
I'm
Parks.
stealing that. Happy New Year.
See you guys.